It is straight up 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. Titans getting back to the practice field this afternoon as they work towards Saturday's AFC South championship matchup in Jacksonville. Yesterday, only one player listed as a did not practice. It was cornerback Devontae Harris, Jeffrey Simmons, Nicholas Petit-Frere, Christian Fulton, and Amani Hooker were limited on Tuesday. Danico Autry and Derrick Henry practiced in full. New injury report will come out in a couple of hours. Slight update from the Buffalo Bills on the condition of safety Damar Hamlin, who, of course, went down suffering cardiac arrest during the Monday Night Football game against Cincinnati. In the statement, Buffalo saying Damar remains in the ICU in critical condition with signs of improvement noted yesterday and overnight. He is expected to remain under intensive care as his healthcare team continues to monitor and treat him. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. What's up, everybody? Happy hump day to you. Beautiful day in the Music City, and we love that we get to hang out with you for part of this beautiful day for the next couple of hours. Lucas Panzica's update. Lucas, I'm breathing a little bit easier. Damar Hamlin showing signs of improvement. Multiple reporters have gotten that. ESPN is reporting it via the Bills, and he's still in critical condition.
ICU. Mm-hmm.
He's still in under the same care, but multiple different sources and different places reporting that they've seen signs of improvement. And Blaine, that has lifted my spirits, and I know it probably has everybody's.
Oh yeah, no question about it. Just want to continue to, keep praying for him and keep your prayers and the thoughts of the Hamlin family in mind throughout this whole process. And and hopefully the best happens here. We shall see.
Just keep it coming with the prayers and the good thoughts and the good vibes, everything you can send his way. I just keep thinking I'm thinking positively when this dude comes to and somebody shows him, hey, remember that $2,500 you had on a GoFundMe? It's in the millions now. You're going to be able to buy a toy for every kid, and I guess he's from the Pittsburgh area. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to buy a kid for everybody in Pennsylvania at this point. And, man, the whole world has just been lifting you up. So I cannot wait till we get that thumbs up from him. That'll be
incredible there, man. I know we mentioned it yesterday, but the first responders there, man, hats off, tip the cap to him, man, for doing a heck of a job just to give us hope and him a shot at, making sure he goes in the right direction. So let's hope that continues with the positive news.
Let's just keep the positive train going. Titans practiced yesterday, and they're practicing now, but the practice report only had one did not practice. Devontae Harris, a defensive back, did not practice. Basham, Cole, Fulton, Hooker, NPF, Big Jeff, all limited, but they did practice. Autry and Henry and Josh Thompson all were a full go yesterday. There was video, I think Jimmy White had it, of Danico Autry, like he was running and jumping.
Well, because he was a bicep, right? It was with the
bicep
injury.
or tricep.
Right, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he can run and jump. Well, I know because he was a knee injury. I think did something to his MCL or something to that impact. But him and Big Jeff being healthy, with Fulton and Hooker, man, that makes this defense a totally different level if they're all able to play. And I think, man, if they're all able to play, I think we got a great shot of winning this game. And I think Fulton will be more so the key because, just depth and everything else when you're talking about a growing, just never know. I'm assuming Hooker probably can go eventually, but we don't know what we get out of him. Maybe it's better to play the backup. Not sure, so I don't know the extent of his injury. But I definitely know a lot about, groins and everything else when you strain and tear a muscle there. So hopefully for the best, but it looks like they're on the right track. Looks like no long, though, if I was reading the tea leaves, though, coming off of IR. If I was just making a guess. I haven't seen anything of anybody talking about him at practice or anything like that. But the other guys have held the fort, and if he's going to be, somewhat, 75%, then 100% of the other guys probably may be the best route to go. And that's when you have to make a tough decision when you're the head coach. A veteran guy who's been a starter, and you know what you get out of him. You know he's a good player. And then if he's at 70%, is the other guy just as good at 70? And, so do you go and hopefully get another week of rest, and then you move on to the next round into the playoffs?
It's interesting, the David Long thing to me, because Mike Vrabel, I guess he's not speaking today, but he's spoken twice this week, and both times, a reporter asked, so you're going to open up David Long's window? And both times, no. And then Mike Vrabel actually said yesterday, I think Joe Rexrode asked maybe a question later, so would you open up somebody else's window? And Vrabel essentially said no. So, and when you open the window on somebody, it's a 21-day practice window. You got to miss 4 games if you're on IR. So if they say, okay, Blaine's going on IR today, that would mean you got to miss 4 games in the current IR system. So there's other guys who have missed plenty of games to be able to come back, and I'm not talking about Lawan or Harold Landry, but there are a handful of other guys who've missed games. You could put any of them in the window, but that doesn't affect any numbers. Heck, you could have any of them. All of them could practice in a 20-day window if they were able to practice. It's only when you say, okay, hocus pocus, this guy's off of IR. That just really makes me wonder how bad the David Long injury is if they're like, we're not even, he's not.
What was the extent of the injury? I don't recall. Was it a calf or hamstring? I don't know. I can't remember. I thought at first it was a hamstring, then it was calf, and then now I don't remember. It may have been his shoulder. I have no idea. And to be honest, I don't think there's a lot of options as far as starters that have been starting this season, most of the season, that are really on the IR that it's really worth pulling back up anyway. You mentioned the guys that have no shot of coming back that had season-long injuries. So, yeah, I think Long's the only guy. And so if it's not Long, then it's, nobody else really at this point in time.
I'm looking back from early December. David Long, hamstring.
Hamstring. That's what I said. Hamstring, calf, something. Yeah. So it's been 4 weeks, huh?
Yeah, he would be eligible to come back. The other guy that's interesting to me, and I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen him in months. Is Kyle Phillips, where he had a shoulder, but I went back and looked. He got put on for a hamstring. That's why he got put on IR.
Yeah, because he practiced a couple of days, and they thought he was going to come back, and then it was hamstring. And so, yeah, it must have been pretty bad. Your body starts compensating, because I know he had the shoulder injury. Then he dropped a few. His shoulder he was very uncomfortable, and then, you never know where your body is getting all the extra energy to compensate for an injury, whether it's your core and everything else, trying to manipulate your body so you can do some certain things that you're used to doing. So, yeah, I don't expect it to be him at all. Yeah. He hasn't played pretty much the whole season, really, after the first 2 or 3 weeks. So, yeah.
That is interesting to me, though, that a soft tissue injury could just take a guy out for the season. Because, if you tear it, obviously that's a whole nother thing.
Right, well, we don't know. Obviously, that's most of what happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Or isn't it? It could be one of those nagging deals, though, when you try to come back and then you practice a couple of days, you think it's doing well, and then you come, back that third day, then all of a sudden it doesn't feel so well. Yeah. It's not strong enough. It can't take the continual pounding. So then they probably try to let him sit back, relax, go through the rehab and everything else, and then let's start the process over. Then at that point in time, they've moved on, because he really was, they had to move on to the next guy. And obviously they have, because, multiple different players have played receiver now. So at this point in time, McMath has even out there. So caught a deep ball.
Yeah.
Which was awesome to see from Mr. Dobbs. Joshua Dobbs, by the way, even though we all been calling him Dobbs.
Well, the thing about David Long,
I'll just say Dobbs, so I won't mess that up.
That works, Dobbs. Thing about David Long, too, this is his contract year. And when we were talking about, well, this guy's out, and this guy's out, and this guy's out, we were talking, maybe it was even ahead of the Cowboys game, and you said, okay, well, you know what? I'm excited to see everybody who gets a chance to play.
Yeah.
Let's see what they can do.
Uh-huh.
Well, what we're seeing is Monty Rice and Gibby, 23 combined tackles when they got their chance. Yeah. And Gibby out there with a dot on his helmet.
Yeah. So that was huge. I thought those guys, as being young players, fared really well. So, they can build on that. They weren't perfect by any means. And so this is a game to be tested, especially their, the pass coverage with the tight end Ingram with help, or at points in times they may have to cover him. So let alone Dylan Cole, is he going to be available? And then how do you implement him, or do you keep him in a special team because you're not sure if his injury can last through a whole entire game?
Yeah.
So you keep those guys starting. He kind of backs those guys up and then just plays, let's say, 15 plays on special team, and then he's there in case someone gets, nicked up or something throughout the game. So an experienced guy who's shown that he can, do well out there. But he's limited on some of the things he can do. I think the two guys, Gibby and Rice, showed the best at this point in time, especially in coverage, even though they weren't great in coverage. They at least knew they were in the right spots.
Dylan Cole dealing with an ankle is his current designation. Certainly a rested Dylan Cole, I would think, could help them on special teams just because that's kind of his niche, and that's, where he's had chances to excel in the league so far, although he's really helped the team this year playing linebacker. But again, the only guy that did not practice yesterday, Devontae Harris, everybody else at least on a limited basis. And as we know all too well, show ends about 2:54 every day, and the official injury report drops around 3:01. So we'll know tomorrow who did and who didn't. But 3HL, they'll know who did and they'll know everything. So you can just stay tuned all day on the Zone. All right, let's do this. Talk some Titans. We're going to do that all day today. But SEC bowl season is wrapped up, except for one game. Just a little matter of a national championship that Georgia will play for. SEC Mike is going to join us next. And let's get all the latest. Let's talk transfer portal. Let's talk all of it with the man they call SEC Mike next on Blaine and Mickey. Lucas is efforting SEC. Mike should have him on here in just a second. Blaney Mickey is the name of this show. It is Wednesday, final regular season week of the NFL schedule. Unbelievable how fast this stuff goes by. But here we are, final week of the NFL regular season. Mike Vrabel and the Titans team have played 86 different players and still has a chance with Joshua Dobbs playing quarterback to pull this thing off. Former UT quarterback Joshua Dobbs. Let's talk to our guy, SEC Mike. Let's switch to some college football talk now. SEC Mike, how about this whole Dobbs thing? Blaine asked the question when he started last week, has a UT guy ever started for the Titans or even the Oilers? We could find the answer was no. So how about this? First time it's ever happened, a Vol is now quarterbacking the Titans.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right? And what's he been there for, like 2 weeks? So
2 weeks.
Adds a little intrigue to all that. You know what?
Well, they say he's a rocket scientist, so I guess that NFL playbook was something that he can handle. So let me ask you this. Let's go to another quarterback who's still playing in the SEC. This is just us talking. You can just be real with us. Why do so many people hate Stetson Bennett?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I guess a lot of people, once they see a guy struggle, it's almost like it's impossible for a guy to improve. We love to write people off on the first impression, and admittedly, Stetson Bennett was not fantastic when he started. And now it's become just anti-Georgia people hate Stetson, but that's not fair either because Kirby Smart brought in J.T. Daniels, he brought in Jamie Newman. He started a guy that you guys may never even heard of named DeJuan Mathis over Stetson Bennett to start the 2020 season.
Yeah.
So the coaches didn't even really believe in Stetson. So I think it was fair to criticize him. But, man, has he been clutch in the national championship game, in the SEC championship game, now this college football playoff? He's one of the most clutch quarterbacks that I can recall in recent SEC history.
SEC Mike, our guest at Michael W. Bratton on Twitter, and you got to listen to that SEC podcast. Yes, that's the name where you can catch Mike and cousin Shane and the crew.
Well, Mike, I don't know the requirements for, I guess, College Football Hall of Fame, but I think the late, great Coach Leach comes up a little short in the win totals. With Mississippi State winning the last game, can they attribute that last win to his win record then to put him eligible to be in the College Football Hall of Fame?
I mean, they got to do something, Blake, because that's ridiculous. I mean, he's one of the best coaches in modern college football. And not only that, but, I mean, you could put Mike Leach in on just his impact on the game of football. And you see it now in high school and obviously the NFL. A lot of air raid concepts are rampant throughout football. And Mike Leach is a huge reason to why that is. So, yeah, I'm hoping they do that. Maybe they credit him for that bowl win. I know there's been some discussion of that. I'll even go, it was not last season, but the year prior, there was just several blown calls in the Memphis game, and one was just completely ridiculous where the Memphis returner touched the ball. They acted like they didn't, and they scored a return touchdown on it, which should have been a blown play. I mean, I say retract that one because, I mean, that was complete garbage. I may have had money on that game. That's why it's still constantly to this day. But, yeah, I mean, if Mike Leach is not in the College Football Hall of Fame, we shouldn't even have one.
No doubt about it. We're on with the SEC. Mike, I guess, were there any games in the bowl picture that were surprise winners or played better than you thought, depending on the opponent?
Well, I mean, certainly I think you got to start with TCU.
Yeah.
I didn't think they had any chance against Michigan going with Michigan's rushing attack. I know they were down their best running back arguably, but TCU run defense was far from good. And, man, they manned up, and they needed 2 pick sixes to get it done, but let's credit TCU. They got it done on to the national championship. It's like it's so rare in college football to have this ultimate Cinderella story, and now they're going up against the biggest kid on the block, so to speak, against Georgia. So I don't know how I like their odds to knock off Georgia, but how can you doubt them at this point in time? So I do still expect Georgia to win the game, but 13.5 I think is the current spread.
Ooh.
I think that's way too much. I think I like TCU to at least cover and make this an interesting game.
Oh, no doubt about it, man. 13.5. I didn't know it was that high. Wow, that's a little surprising to me. They've shown that they can compete, at least in a one-game series, with anybody in the country. We're on with SEC Mike with that SEC podcast, which is number one in the country. Bobby Petrino was just hired as the OC of A&M. Kind of take us through how you think this will work out and be a good fit for Jimbo Fisher and crew.
Man, we got Bobby Petrino, Hugh Freeze. I mean, is there any way we can get Urban Meyer back to the SEC and Les Miles, perhaps? I mean, what other disgraced, fired people can we bring back? But no, all kidding aside, I honestly think this is a great hire because the offense has just been a train wreck under Jimbo Fisher. And I was concerned, like many, that he was just going to hire an offensive coordinator, another yes man to come in here and just take where Jimbo was still calling the plays. And he has been responsible for that since the day he stepped foot on campus in College Station, and it's been a train wreck more often than not on the offensive side of the ball. So, yes, you're getting somewhat of a disgraced Bobby Petrino, but what he is an excellent, excellent play caller. He's not going to be a pushover. We've seen him walk out on jobs. If Jimbo Fisher were to strip him of his play calling duties in the middle of the season, Bobby Petrino will hop on his motorcycle and get out of town. So,
man.
I think this is a great hire by A&M. I really do.
Well, let's stick with the OCs. Missouri hired a new OC, and it's kind of always weird to me when you see an offensive play caller now hire an OC and the head coach there at Missouri. I don't know much about Kirby Moore. I guess tell us a little about what kind of offense they'll be running with the new hire.
Yeah, so he was at Fresno State previously, Kirby Moore, and they led the Mountain West in scoring for what that's worth. He's the younger brother of Kellen Moore, who I think is now the Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator. So, he comes from a strong family of offensive minds, and he played at Boise. And, it is interesting you mentioned that, Blaine, because the defense was pretty outstanding for Missouri this season. It was the offense, and they have an offensive-minded coach. Yep. And when he gave away those play-calling duties late in the season, Missouri seemed to take a step forward on that side of the ball. So I thought it was imperative that he brought in a quality coordinator. I don't know a ton more about Kirby Moore. He's a very young guy. But, they have had a ton of success there in the Mountain West. Again, take that for what it's worth. But he worked with Eli Drinkwitz at Boise State, so there's a prior relationship there. So I'm sure that factored into it as well. And, anyone that coaches quarterbacks coming into Missouri, again, that was kind of where they were held back a little bit, was the quarterback play. So I know Eli's got the reputation of that, but what he really is a really good developer of running backs. So if you combine the two minds, you got to hope, if you're a Missouri fan, that the offense will be much better than it was last season.
We're on with the SEC, Mike.
So if things don't turn around offensively and otherwise, do you think Drinkwitz's seat starts to heat up a little bit?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've already been asked, has he ever been a head coach? Could he be an interim coach? You know what I mean? So, and it's just hilarious that we're getting comments like that because
he just signed an extension.
About 3 months ago got a contract extension. But so did Sam Pittman, and fans are angry at him. I mean, this is the SEC, guys. If you ain't winning right now, it's not what have you done for me a year ago. It's what have you done for me now? And if you ain't winning, and we've got some terrific coaches down here in the SEC, but they can't all win. That's why you got to bring in a guy like Bobby Petrino to turn your ship around.
All right. Well, we're talking about coaches possibly coming and going. The portal has been open and guys are coming and going. Who has been hurt the most? I think A&M's lost more people than anybody in the country. Who's been hurt the most in the portal? Who's been helped the most with people showing up in that thing?
Yeah, certainly A&M, they lead not only the SEC but the country in players to the transfer portal, and that is surprising given that they signed this number one class and about a quarter of it's already out the door. So that's obviously not good. Florida is another one that has just been devastated by the transfer portal, but that one I think is a little bit more forgivable because what you're seeing, is guys that are not fully bought in to what Billy Napier's trying to do down there. So that makes sense. I honestly think Florida might be better off having lost some of these guys. But another one that concerns me is Arkansas. They have had a ton of guys go into the portal, and that's similar to Jimbo, where he's been there a number of years. He should have a strong culture in place. Most of these players are his players, yet they're leaving the program. That is not a great sign. So Arkansas, A&M, and even Alabama, believe it or not, has been hit pretty hard by the transfer portal, and now for draft declarations like they have every year. But as far as someone that has helped themselves, man, the rich just get richer.
Yeah.
Georgia, they've added Ra Thomas from Mississippi State and Dominique Lovett from Missouri. The best receivers on those two rosters now are going to be Georgia Bulldogs. You can't say Georgia's got weaknesses, but where they're least strong, I guess would be the best way to put it, is receiver, and they've shored that up via the transfer portal.
So let me ask you this, as we put this together, and who's playing and who's not, and who's coaching and who's not, who do you like in the East and who do you like in the West? And dare I say it, could you be liking LSU more than Bama in the West next year?
Wait a second. You're asking me to make my predictions for next season?
I'm just saying you can just – I know it's on your podcast. I mean, is LSU best in the West in 23? That was on the latest one. So what do you
right.
You don't have to make any bold predictions. You can save it for the you can save it for that SEC podcast. But just as you look ahead, is there anything that has your attention?
Well, I'm hesitant because this old takes exposed guy, he gets me about twice a week these days. So I got to be careful what I say. But, yeah, I mean, LSU, certainly you got to like them. Everybody's going to be jumping on the Alabama bandwagon, but I don't know. I mean, this was supposed to be Alabama's year, and they could have had 4 or 5 losses. So I think Nick Saban, he's the greatest of all time, but I think he may have missed a beat there, just a slight step, I think. Will they come back with a vengeance? That remains to be seen. And you may laugh at this, but, I mean, I'm serious. Bobby Petrino going to A&M, that potentially throws a wrench into all of this. I'm not ready to say they're going to win the West by any means, but I think it makes them much more of a competitor there. So, yeah, I tend to lean LSU right now. But, again, with the transfer portal, with some of these coaching hires that is changing by the hour, things can change. But LSU looks to be in a great position under Brian Kelly.
Yeah, SEC Mike, at Michael W. Bratton on Twitter, that SEC podcast holding it down with us right now.
Well, Mike, man, you talked a little bit about the portal. How many players do you think, and I'm talking about good players, you think are going to get stuck in this portal? Because sometimes you can go out there and it's a numbers game, and sometimes you can kind of be left out of numbers, end up having to go to a school maybe at a different level, man. So it's going to be some guys stuck in that portal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I think a lot of players think it's, the grass is greener on the other side, and they find out in a hurry that, if you can't play at one of these schools, maybe it's not the coaches, maybe it's you, and we'll see. Because I think the really good players, basically the moment they go in the portal, they already know where they're going. They've already worked it out. They've already got these deals. A lot of these transfer portal transfers are purely based on NIL. I don't care what anybody else says. And I'm talking the top-level guys. But, yeah, I mean, you're right, because I'm just looking at the list here. Just in the SEC, I keep a running list of all this at thatsecpodcast.com. And for about every 10 players that have gone in from the SEC, these SEC programs are signing about one guy to every 10 that goes in. Now, it's going to continue to change. I get that, but that's a massive number. So, I certainly wouldn't be jumping into the portal unless I already had my next spot lined up. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of these guys are not doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, naturally, do you think there are going to be some rules maybe implemented at some point in time as far as tampering, or can they even touch that, the NCAA? Because, I was thinking about the Hartman kid, and everybody's talking about he's going to Notre Dame. I know that's not in the SEC, but from Wake Forest. And I was like, well, dang, how quickly he decided that, almost like that he's going to Notre Dame like the next day. So that shows you there was some form of, even if it was third party involved, of contact in his behalf. Or do you think there's nothing they can do about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the NCAA is so toothless. I don't know what they could possibly do. The only thing I could see is, it would have to be at the conference level. to where someone like Greg Sankey takes a stand on something like that. But even that, which is supposed to be against the rules, I don't know if it's a priority for someone like that that's got so much other stuff on his plate. So I honestly, I don't think there's much we can do. I think there's always going to be shadiness in college athletics, but at least a lot more of this is out in the open now with NIL and the transfer portal.
And lastly for me, we have to ask you, what are your thoughts on the Tennessee Vols, not only in the game that they play versus Clemson, but as well as moving forward with Heupel and crew and staff next season with Milton at quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive. I mean, there's no other way to put it. 11-win season, Orange Bowl victory. I don't think even the biggest Tennessee homers could have seen that one coming. And perhaps, even more impressive, you look at it at the bowl game with guys like Hendon Hooker, with Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, Jeremy Banks, Trevon Flowers. I mean, key players not in the lineup. And this coaching staff does such a good job of just, we got to credit the players, but they do a great job of getting these guys ready to play, and it's almost like a plug and play. And you just look at Josh Heupel's track record. I'm not trying to take away anything from Hendon Hooker because he goes down as one of the best quarterbacks in Tennessee history. But who was he before he started working with Josh Heupel? So I got the utmost confidence in Josh Heupel to train the next quarterback, whether it's Joe Milton, whether it's Nico, whoever it is. I think the offense is going to be fine. And the key for Tennessee, here's when I think of Tennessee this year, you look at Alabama's roster, you look at Georgia's roster, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, there's not a single player, I don't think, on Tennessee's roster that those two nationally relevant programs would have taken, yet they had a solid defense for most of the season, and I think that side of the ball is getting better and better, more talent, more depth, year in, year out. That makes Tennessee a contender not only for the SEC next season, but the college football playoff. I don't think the Vols are going anywhere as long as Josh Heupel's there.
No doubt about it. We're on with SEC Mike.
Yeah, it's funny, Mike. We were talking about this late last week. The weeks have kind of blended together, but I believe it was late last week. And if you're the Vols, now's the time to be resurging because 12 teams are going to get in the playoffs. So if you're perennial a top 10 team, you're going to be perennially in the playoff from here on out.
Right, and that has got to excite you if you're a fan outside of the normal Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State that are just always in the playoff contention annually. Now you give the window to some of these other teams. So it is a terrific time to be ascending, and I don't think people complain about NIL and the transfer portal, but I honestly think just in the brief time we've had it, I think it's weakened Alabama a little bit. I think it's strengthened teams like Tennessee and Arkansas and Ole Miss, and it potentially has the ability to do that for Kentucky next season, who just got the top quarterback and one of the top running backs out of the portal to shore up some deficiencies on their roster. So I think it's helping the middle tier of college football elevate, and I think it's hurting the depth of some of the elite in college football, which is good for the sport, I think.
Well, having TCU play for a championship, I mean, I know they're not a blue blood, and the TV ratings may reflect it. Georgia is, and they're not. But I love it. I mean, I want chaos. This is just see new blood in this thing. That's exciting to me. I hope it's a good game like the two semifinals were, but I'm excited to see TCU take a shot at this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you don't have a dog in the fight, I have to imagine everybody in the country that is going to be rooting for TCU to knock off mighty Georgia. I mean, it's a monumental ask. It's almost an impossible ask, but it'll be fun to watch that game go down. It's just fun to get some new blood in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mike, before we let you go, I have to ask you, how surprised were you? It was kind of out of the norm and I could think of Alabama players off the cuff, that played in their final bowl game and they had nothing to gain by besides the university winning a game, but them personally, individually being NFL, guys that they, going to go in the draft, especially first round guys, Anderson, Bryant Young, and everybody else, that they played in the actual bowl game. What does that say about not only them, but what it meant to the program?
Yeah, I mean, I love to see it, and it's kind of sad, Blaine, that that's noteworthy now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because
it is.
you know, I'm not calling out the Tennessee players that didn't play or anything like that, but that stunned me. It really did, because I realized they can get hurt and all that, but there's still a game to be played, and that was, you know, the biggest Tennessee bowl game in 20 some odd years. Yet some of your key players are not playing in it. That kind of blew my mind, but it is what it is, and I think that's going to help Will Anderson and Bryce Young when they go to the NFL draft. I think those NFL evaluators will at least value that to an extent. Not that they'll knock people that didn't play, because we know that doesn't happen, but speaks to their character. It speaks to just how much they love their university, and I wish we saw more of it.
There you have it. SEC Mike.
Mike, fantastic stuff, man. Thanks for joining us. And we got one more game of college football season to enjoy, and I know you'll do just that. And look forward to talking to you again soon, buddy.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes,
Stetson Bennett.
At Michael W. Bratton. Why do you people hate Stetson Bennett? 615-737-1045. You can call us and tell us that. Yeah. Also, On3 Sports is tracking the transfer portal comings and goings. Who's lost the most, who's gained the most. I'll tell you that next, too. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone, taking it to the limit on a Wednesday afternoon. A brilliant vocal performance on this from Mr. Randy Meisner. Love this song. He transferred out of the Eagles
To the limit.
at one point, and Tim
One
Schmidt
more
transferred
time.
in. On 3 Sports, doing yeoman's work here, tracking this transfer portal comings and goings, which God bless them. Most transfer outs. We just went over this with SEC Mike.
What is that?
Texas A&M. Lucas, Blaine, you want to venture a guess? How many? Do you know the answer to this? To how many people have left Texas A&M? They're number one with transfer
You're our
outs.
college expert.
I'm going to say.
Oh, good. I'm going to say that means you haven't seen it.
I have no idea.
Okay.
23.
Do you give me up or down?
I'll
To help me out. Up.
I'm too low, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm going 33.
Well, down from that, 27.
Oh, 26.
Right in the middle.
Texas A&M leads the way with 27. Florida, 22. And as Mike said, new coach. He's still getting his culture guys in there. Sam Pittman and Arkansas have said goodbye to 22 people as well.
Which is surprising to me. Even that safety who used to start now, and I don't know if he got injured. I know he did, but then when he came back, he never really got back on the field. Yeah, Catalone, I think is his name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Jacob.
He was good.
Yeah, Jacob Catalan.
Yeah, he was really good because he was kind of play like me. I liked him. That's probably why they don't like him.
Well, guys, you think about this. When
He was
last
a pretty
season
good player,
started,
man. He started as a true freshman.
yeah. When last season started and we were looking at the West, it's like, boy, who's second best in the West? It might be Arkansas. It may be them.
I thought it was.
Well, and I'm from Arkansas, but I'm not necessarily an Arkansas guy.
But the quarterback got hurt too, though,
Yeah.
this year.
But man,
He missed 2 or 3.
when it went, it went. And
They were in the
finished.
top 10 early on, too.
Yeah.
Well, the quarterback did miss KJ Jefferson.
He missed some
like
games.
2 or 3 games, right?
Really, I think the tailspin kind of started when they were in the game against Alabama. Bryce Young gets hurt, and then Jalen Milroe just lights them up on the ground. He
Right,
had a
running
couple
the
like
football.
75-yard touchdown runs, and Alabama pulls away. From there, I think things kind of started to tailspin a bit, and the health of KJ Jefferson and 6-6 is not where anybody in Arkansas wanted to be at the end of the year.
Well, it's all going to be fine now because Bobby Petrino, as Chris Lowe is reporting, is now the OC for Texas A&M.
Petrino,
So,
who almost beat Arkansas this year in his return trip with Missouri State.
Yep.
I mean, they pushed him in that
Yeah,
game.
they pushed him to the limit. Speaking of the song,
So all for
take it to the limit. They push it to the limit.
They did. Everything will be fine for A&M. They got Petrino. Arizona is 20. That's the 4 schools that have 20 or more.
Wow.
Deion's Jackson State team has lost 18 since Deion walked out the door. The U, Miami, also 18. Stanford 17, Cal 16, Ole Miss 16, Oregon 16, and Arizona State 16. Again, this is per On 3 Sports. That one was from yesterday, so there may be a little bit of movement on those numbers. Most transfers in. You want to take a guess at who this is? It's not an SEC team.
Oh, it's not.
New coach.
Uh-oh.
New coach.
That really narrows the list.
Out west.
Oh, out west. Arizona State.
That's it. Ding,
Oh,
ding,
wow.
ding. How in the world did you pull that out of your hiney?
You West, I just thought of them. Well, they were up in the top 5 right there for losses, right? New coach, usually guys are leaving. That means also the guys are coming.
Yeah, no SEC teams on the transfer in list. And it's funny. We just had SEC Mike on. He said for every 10 guys they're leaving, they're bringing in one guy.
One guy.
None of them are on the transfer in list, at least as of, and this is from earlier today, a couple hours ago. Colorado, number 2 at 16. That's Deion bringing in his son and everybody with him. Michigan State, number 3, 13 transfer ins. UCF with 10, Gus Malzahn. Now, I'll say this, Terry Mohajir, who's the AD, is a friend of mine, and I worked for him. Whatever the newest thing is, they'll embrace it 1,000%. Like whatever transfer portal, NIL, putting their Twitter handle on their jersey in the spring.
Oh, I love that.
Hey, man.
No, I want the Twitter handle on the back of the jersey, but for their name.
They did it in the spring game.
Right.
They may do it in a game if they can do it. UCF 10, Florida State 9 in, North Carolina 9 in, Louisville 8, Washington 8, UCLA, Michigan, SC, Oklahoma State, Kansas, Nebraska. Oh, here's LSU 7. They're the only ones who cracked in the most transfer ins in the transfer portal activity for this year. Again, On 3 Sports putting all this together. So Arizona State with 19 new guys. in the transfer portal. Most out, Texas A&M, 27.
A&M, wow. Yeah, big state of Texas. Most out.
They got a lot of money down there. They're spending
They
more.
do.
They're spending like Star Wars level money. Do they spend some of that money on Goodbye Jimbo if it's another 7 or 8 win year this year?
Oh, they have to. Sorry.
I mean, don't you?
They got to bring the bucket and everything else included with the $80 million buyout or whatever it is. I don't think Jimbo will be upset at all. He may go on a vacation and never come back. I mean, seriously now. I'm like, wow. So hopefully, this is kind of interesting. Just the mix of Jimbo with Bobby Petrino. And, I know SEC Mike was joking, but he was also serious in that, hey, Petrino, things go wrong, he'll get on his motorcycle and just leave. So Jimbo seems like he's a tough cat to, kind of work with both of them, to be honest. So I'm interested to see how this dynamic works together because if, you call an offensive plays in there, you're going to give them autonomy to call all the plays. And I think that's what Jimbo really needs to do. Let it go because I think some of his offense has kind of passed time a little bit and just be the CEO of your team. And tell a guy to run, pass, and all those things. But how about take away the play calling duties and let somebody else, you can point the finger at somebody else if to blame if things go wrong. So that's a big step to me in Jimbo, even with this hire, because I'm assuming that Bobby Petrino is going to be able to make pretty much all the calls on the offensive side.
We had a question in the Zone TV chat. How many of Deion's guys came with him? 7 from Jackson State to Colorado. You know who else they got? The best player on Arkansas State's team, tight end. His name is Seydou Traore.
No.
That dude.
He was legit.
Watch out. Yeah, he's one of those move tight ends. Like, I'm not here to block anybody, but throw me the ball a lot. I mean, he blocks, I guess, when he needs to. 7 guys.
Oh, wow. Well, outside of the SEC,
Jackson
since you
State.
brought up Arkansas State, I have to bring up Ball State. Carson Steele, the running back from Ball State, is now committed to UCLA.
Mr.
He's going
Blonde,
west.
Maine, look at him.
Yeah,
with
I
that
call
hair.
him Thor. I call him Thor.
Thor in Hollywood, Blaine.
Yeah.
Thor's about to make some NIL money. I'm sorry he left Ball State, but woo!
Yeah. He got the lovely locks there. And he came in as a, kind of not a freshman, really, as far as his power. Benching over 300 and some pounds as a true freshman, which was a couple years ago. So now he's going into his junior year and starting as a true freshman. So then squatting like over 500 pounds. So this guy was already made. I hadn't heard of anything like that in high school coming into their freshman year. So it's to see how that all plays out. I think it's a good fit for him. So excited for him.
Old Thor out there in Hollywood. Perfect marriage.
match. Yeah.
All right, when we come back, we're officially halfway through the week. Hour number 2 of the Wednesday show, including a visit from Jordan Dajani, talking NFL. Latest on Hamlin as well, Damar Hamlin. We'll give you all that next on Blaine and Mickey. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Woo is right. Welcome into the halfway through the week show. We are at the nexus of the sports talk universe. It is it's halfway through the Wednesday show, and really it's 2:00. So the whole week is just downhill for everybody from here. They're just running downhill.
Oh my.
Yeah, towards the Titans game on Saturday night at 7:15 in Jacksonville. Boy, I got rabbit holed into this a little bit yesterday. Like,
Wait, what'd you get rabbit holed in?
There's some people in Jacksonville that are big mad that this game got moved to Saturday.
Oh, really?
We ain't got any time to prepare. Titans got all these extra days because they played on Thursday.
Oh, they didn't mention that to me when I was on the air with them
today. There's some fans down there really.
I thought you were going to say they're still pissed off about 1999.
How many people are still mad about 1999?
They definitely brought it up. Leon says he definitely brought it up. I was like, oh, man, you got to get over it. I said, man, we were you guys' kryptonite, but the Ravens were our kryptonite, and that it's around the league. So I said, hey, man, Fred Taylor still won't return my calls or texts. I said, so that's where he's at. I'll call the Ravens guys back.
Ed
Reed and crew.
The whole thing about that deal, you guys did get your Super Bowl the year before. So
no, we didn't get it. We got to go there.
You at least got you got to go. You got to go to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
For the Jaguars,
they never
got that because the 1 year. And think about this: if you don't know the history, you're new to Nashville, or you were a baby then, or you don't know.
You're a baby.
They went 13 and. They went 14-3 is what they would have had to have gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
They won all their regular season games but 2. They lost both of them to you. Or were they 15-3? I guess they had to win a game to face you when they did. Whatever.
They only lost 2 games in a regular season.
They lost 2 games. They were both to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to the playoffs, and then they lose to you guys again. And that team, we've talked about them. It was loaded. Now, your team was loaded. Their team was also loaded. And they got no Super Bowl to show for it.
Yeah. Well, I think more so, not to brag, I think our defense matched up with them really well.
Yep.
And that's really the key to all of that, the matchups. And we had, all the DBs to match up, with their guys and skilled guys. And then, we had, control of the run game. As good as those players were, and I think 2 of them, we already saw one of them in with Baselli. I think Jimmy Smith and Fred Taylor are Hall of Fame guys. I think Searcy should be mentioned in the conversation. Nobody even mentions him. He was the blindside tackle there because Brunell was left-handed and not Baselli. So Baselli was the better athlete, but when you kind of look at what each of them did, I think Searcy's value was just as important. So they really had some top-notch guys. And the other players were really good, too, from Brady to Keenan McCardell, who I saw on the sidelines. He's a coach for somebody. I saw him the other day.
Yeah.
In the NFL. So, yeah, they had some really good players. I have a lot of mutual respect. I think they don't believe me and think I'm trying to set them up every time, but I have more respect for them probably than any other team that we faced on a regular basis because we had to play our A game every time we played them or we were going to get beat. And really, that's how we beat them. And we thought if we kept being physical with them, that they were more a finesse team, to be honest, and that come fourth quarter, if we continue to be physical, that we could then squeeze out a win. And that's really was the whole mantra of everything about it. As bad as that sounds to the Jacksonville guys, but that's really what we believed, even though they were really physical too. It's just because they were, on offense, they kind of threw the ball. Probably they were 50-50, where we were still like we are today. We were more run dominant with a great running back and great quarterback.
You guys held them. They had 289 total yards in the playoff game that you beat them. They threw for 112 and ran for 177, but the magic number in that was
Freddie T broke a long one in that game, I remember, because I remember – I tried to come across the top and dive at his shoulder pads, and I missed him. Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. That was I'm looking at the Titans McNair, you guys threw for 112 and ran for 177 in the game. They threw for 211 and 144 in that game, but you beat them 33-14. Derek Mason had a big kick return.
Yes, he did, which kind of turned around the game. Really.
And that was kind of that broke them.
Yeah. Well, in the long run by McNair at quarterback, the scramble run was huge in that game as well. I thought those two kind of broke their back. I mean, you just think about that. You just said they threw for 112, the Titans, we did, and they lost. The Jaguars lost. So it was special teams and a running game. And the defense owed them the 14 points.
Now, this part, I remembered turnovers. You remember how many turnovers there were in that game?
Well, I know Mark Robb got one in the end zone. It was a swap boot. I'm telling them before the play even starts that, watch out, they coming your way, be ready. And he hung and didn't even move. And they threw it right to him because they thought we were in man-to-man and we were going to play our what we call cover 5 down there, which is I'm matched up on the tight end. The outside guys are man-to-man, and then we double the slot. We went zone. We changed up. So that's what I'm talking about, the cat and mouse game of playing chess and checkers, what we did in the past games and then what we did in this game. And so they ran right to him. And as far, I don't remember. No, did Samari Rowe have another interception? Did we have 2 turnovers? As far as defense?
You guys had 4 and they had 6.
6 turnovers?
6. Yes, I'm looking at the box score.
Whoa, they had some fumbles? I don't even remember that.
Brunell threw 2 interceptions.
Oh, I caused a fumble on Brunell. How did I forget that? Well, but, no. Reason why I don't remember. I caused a fumble, but they recovered it. So in my mind, we didn't win. I mean, that wasn't a caused fumble. That's why I say that.
He fumbled twice. He lost one. So there's the one he got back. Yeah. Kyle Brady fumbled twice and lost both of them.
Oh, yeah, I think Eddie Robb, he was a magician as far as punching the ball out. I know he got one of them. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy to think about.
That's why they lost the game, turnover.
Yep. Derek Mason had an 80-yard return for a touchdown. He was 4 kick returns for 174.
Yeah, he was impactful in that game as a returner. Yeah, he was dominant. Yeah, people forget, Derek Mason really made his name in returning punts and kicks. I mean, he was outstanding. One of the best. I mean, I think that season, and maybe it was the next season, he was number 1 all-purpose yardage for the entire season. Because that's when he picked it up at receiver. And then, man, he was incredible. He was phenomenal, top-notch. He's still in the top 20 in all-purpose yards in NFL history. Derek Mason should be in the Hall of Fame. You're in the top 20 in all-purpose yards ever in the history of this game. Boy, you a bad
101 years.
Yeah, you a bad man. You a bad MF. That's what that is.
Tyreek he's what it is. He's on the line. He wants to talk about what these Titans need to do to win because this is basically a playoff game in Jacksonville again on Saturday night. Tyreek on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. What do these Titans need to do to win, Tyreek?
And hold on, who y'all got picking up the phone over there, man?
That's Lucas Panzikas, man. Or no, it was the intern. Intern picked it up. What happened?
I was about to say, man. What's your name? Hold on, I thought 104 something. Like, all right. But yeah, let me get it off there.
What am I, a customer service representative?
Yeah, I'm gonna call. Tell him I'm calling customer service on it.
Okay. Well, we gotta make sure the intern walked out to go into the restroom. So yeah.
This is what really makes me mad, and I know y'all finna give me an old school answer because I've been hearing it from y'all all day long.
What?
We gotta stop running the ball every first down. It's making me mad. I know you say we gotta stay above the 6. You can throw a 6-yard slant to a tight end or a curl out or something. Now Derrick Henry's in there for 2nd and 4, 3rd and 4. But for you to try to run the ball every first down, they sending everybody. It's making me mad. Right when they stop Derrick Henry, now it's 2nd and 12. Do something else, please.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna ask you a question. What did you think about the game and the play call in the last game with Dobbs at quarterback with no Derrick Henry?
Tyreek just dropped off.
Oh.
That was it. He just wanted to make
I wanted to hear him because I felt like the game was different, and I think it will go back to norm because Derrick Henry's in the game. Your best player, you're going to give him the ball. Now, I get where he's at on the first down. I get it. It is a little frustrating. It's almost predictable. But when it's predictable and then all of a sudden you didn't execute it, you go, well, dang, they knew the play was coming. They still couldn't stop it. And then there's sometimes that they don't. So I'm interested to see if we go back to that well of, Derrick Henry as much. Because remember, he threw 39 times.
Which Lucas said, the most anybody thrown on the Titans this year,
season.
Right?
Right. So was that more so because Derrick Henry wasn't out there? Because he can, you can ride, the bell cow when you don't, when he's out there. But when he's not out there, you say, okay, we got to find another way to skin a cat. And so there's somewhere a balance there when Henry's in the game. And do they go back to we're just going to run him on first down? I think you got to start that way just to see because he's played so well versus Jacksonville Jaguars over history of time. Even the last game, he wouldn't say he had a big game, but he still, even though he had the fumbles, he still rushed for over 100 in that game. And if you rush over 100, you got a 100-yard rusher. Typically, most times, you win the game. So I'm interested to see where he's at. Now, he's going to have fresh legs. Mm-hmm. Now, and in one game miss, he not going to be rusty. There is no rust. One game. If there is, it'll be after 2 carries. I mean, it'll be pretty quick. So, back to the speed of the game and everything else. So, and this, I expect him to be lit. And I'm a little more concerned with him wanting something so bad in what happened last game because that's who he is. That's what makes him great, that he fumbled and that he's not going to think that that's going to ever happen again and that he's trying so hard to bulldoze somebody or run through tackles and then he ends up making another mistake, with someone else coming in trying to make a play on him. He's trying to prove a point. Just go out there and play ball and be the king that we know you are and everything will fall into place. But that's tough to tell a competitive athlete because I know I've definitely been there and times I'm like, nah, I'm going to go get it. And I should have relaxed and just let the game come to me. Had to learn that through experience.
Let's let this call from Antoine come to us. He wants to talk about first down runs. Then I'll tell you what's going on with Damar Hamlin. Then we'll hear from Jordan Dajani. What you got, Antoine?
Man, how y'all fellas doing this afternoon?
Fantabulous.
Yeah, good, man. The weather's nice, so we're awesome.
Warm in the studio and outside.
Man, you can't beat that. But, yeah, just piggybacking off of what Tyreek said, yeah, I'm getting over the whole running on first down and then being behind the sticks just because Derek can't get 3 yards if that blitz everybody. Like, that's starting to get too predictable to where you can see high school coaches knowing what's going on before anything.
Right. So, what you want them to throw the ball?
Yeah, at least, you can run a slant, a curl.
Yeah.
You can run something. But that playing behind the sticks is going to hurt us in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, play action boot. I mean, if everybody is in the box, we've seen Tannehill have some success with that early in games before and during games. But
I'm with the quick passing game.
Yeah.
The quick passing game for a change-up curveball, and I'm with the callers, though. A slant, something – that's quick and immediate, whether it's a curl route or something where you get the ball out of your hands quick, kind of loosen up the defense because they're going to come in there fired up to stop Derrick Henry. There's no doubt about it. And you can even set them up. Even the first down, you run him. And then you say, okay, we're going to get you the next. And you get a first down and then some kind of way. And then you eventually say, okay, now we're going to fake to him. Boom, come out quick, bang. RPO, bang. See, and then all of a sudden go, uh-oh, this is different. Especially if Dobbs get into a rhythm. Yeah. Then you use him as a decoy more so as the bell cow, and then you switch that up the next series. Because guess what? They go to the sideline, they make adjustments, then you say, nope, now we're going to come back to pounding you on first down. So you got to – and that's where I have issues with Downey, where most people just say play calling, is that I just don't think he is good, or maybe they're not allowing him to, I don't know which is true, to be more that way and playing chess and not checkers. And maybe he's just limited in what he wants to do or limited in the personnel that he has. But that's all I've ever seen him do. And he kind of lives for that. And that's kind of the identity of the team. Kind of, it is. So they're going to continue that. And that's Vrabel's identity, and it's about the king.
The next segment's about Jordan Dajani. He'll join us. We'll talk NFL with him. Just a couple of quick headlines on Damar Hamlin. ESPN reporting he showed signs of improvement that were observed Tuesday and overnight into Wednesday into today. That was according to the team. His marketing guy, Jordan Rooney, has been doing some interviews. He did one with Cole Harvey of ESPN. Said doctors overnight got some promising readings that they had been hoping to see by this morning. He didn't go into specifics, the report says, but progress appears to be made. He's still sedated. He's still in critical condition in ICU, but there have been some positive reports today, and I know you guys want to hear anything positive, any news that we can give you. So there's the news. We'll get into that and more. NFL headlines next with Jordan Dajani.
Waiting on your vehicle repair. It's like you don't want to sit down or touch anything because there's grease all over the place. Well, at Eurofix, you'll find luxurious waiting rooms with all the internet connectivity and refreshments you need in a safe environment. And Eurofix fixes everything European with an ASE certified technician. And not all repair shops have ASE certified techs, so you better watch out and make sure you get an ASE certified technician working on your European vehicle. And Eurofix offers a nationwide 3-year or 36,000-mile warranty on all repairs and a free loaner card with those repairs. And you'll like this, no surprises. No work is done without your approval. And Eurofix also offers a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection, and you can drop in with no appointment necessary. A former youth pastor and starting out with just $50 in tools, owner Aaron Stokes and his team have been repairing European vehicles for over 2 decades now. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX Monday through Friday, or you can just visit them online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine said you.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Jordan Dajani can't walk on water, but he can tell you what's going on in the NFL. Jordan joins us now for his weekly visit, courtesy of, well, he works for CBS Sports, so we'll give them courtesy for all of his knowledge. Jordan, how in the world are you doing, man? It's a beautiful day outside. We've seen some better news, some maybe better reports coming out about Damar Hamlin, so there's some optimism there, and it's making a lot of people happy today.
Hey, what's up, my friends? Yeah, I'm doing well. Happy New Year. It has certainly been a very weird week in the NFL, but I look forward to breaking it down all with you guys. What
were your thoughts as you kind of processed this stuff that we saw with Damar Hamlin on the field? And Blaine and I have talked about this. You know, the ESPN crew did a fantastic job in the worst of circumstances trying to cover this in real time, but just kind of curious, as you saw it unfold, and now that you've had a couple of days, your thoughts on what we saw with this young man.
Wow, I had a lot of thoughts. I mean, first of all, I was very slow to realize what was occurring. You know, I saw the hit, I saw him get up and then go back down, and I didn't really understand what was happening. I saw the ambulance come on the field, and I saw the stretcher as well. And I said, wait, hold up, he didn't injure his neck. I don't understand why there's a whole backboard and everything like that. But then I quickly realized that, you know, this situation was a lot more serious than just a normal NFL injury. And, you know, it was interesting to watch all this take place because there really is no to-do list when something like this happens, right? This is unprecedented in a lot of different ways. And like a lot of NFL fans, I'm sure I found myself just watching ESPN for the next, 2-3 hours without even knowing that much time has passed, just waiting for some kind of update, hopefully a positive one for Bill safety Damar Hamlin. And, I think we got to give credit to the first responders that were there that, may have saved his life. We have to give credit to the NFL and the coaches for coming together to make the decision not to play the rest of this game because obviously sports, took a back seat when it comes to someone's life literally being on the line. So it was an unprecedented situation, and now it really goes to praying that he makes a full recovery and then seeing what we can do with the remainder of the regular season in the NFL.
It's sports fans. It can be wild and crazy and as fanatical as anybody, but when things are at their worst, oftentimes you see sports fans are at their best, and we've seen that manifested in people giving millions of dollars now to this young man's toy drive, which is a passion of his, making sure no kid goes without it at Christmas.
Absolutely. And, if there's any kind of positive to be taken away from this terrible situation, it's just that. The power of sports, the power of community, the power of fans. I noticed that all these fans, right, Bills, Bengals fans, NFL fans, sports fans that aren't NFL fans, were looking for some kind of way they could support this player and support his family, and they found that GoFundMe, and they absolutely blew it up. That was really, really cool to see. And, just seeing all the prayers and thoughts and well wishes around different sports networks and everything like that shows you, that we're going to be okay, as a community. And I thought that spoke a lot to the way that we all reacted to this tragedy. And, again, we're all hoping that he gets better.
Jordan Dajani, our guest, CBS Sports covering the NFL, joins us same time every week right here on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, Jordan, I'm going to give you the commissioner's hat there, Mr. Sheriff Goodell. How do you proceed moving forward with rescheduling, or how would you, decide on what you're going to do about that game and then the effects of AFC rankings and the benefits of that schedule? Or who does it benefit more?
Yeah, if you gave me the commissioner's hat, that'd be the quickest resignation in all of history. But
yeah, me too.
I'll say this, I've been thinking about this and I've been reading about this situation. It's about working with the time that we have, right? I would imagine that the Super Bowl cannot get moved. So we have to work with the time we have from Wednesday, January 4th to Sunday, February 12th. Now, the NFL is going to have several options, but the thing that I keep looking at is the buffer that will be taken advantage of, likely, will be the 2 weeks between the conference championships and the Super Bowl. So someone that I've been keeping up with, Mike Florio, who's obviously been covering this game and this league a long time, he kind of came up with the proposition of playing Bills-Bengals this weekend, but moving Week 18 to the next weekend and taking advantage of that 2-week buffer between the conference championships and the Super Bowl. Now, that's not going to happen, of course. The NFL is already putting out their kickoff times for Week 18. Yeah. But I think that pushing it back or maybe making the Bengals and Bills play on a short week after the end of the regular season will be something that's in play. Even if that game is not rescheduled, maybe those two teams are handed ties. And for seeding, the other thing we can look at is winning percentages in conference for those top 3 seeds in the AFC. So it's very convoluted, it's complicated, and like I said, I'm very glad that I'm not in charge of making the decision for the NFL.
No doubt. We're in with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports. Now on to, I guess we haven't got a chance to talk to you about the Dobbs performance a little bit. What were your thoughts there, even in a loss? At least look like he can manage the team, and now being named the starter going into the Jaguars game, and maybe you can kind of hint into, that matchup a little bit as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So I actually was a little surprised in a good way with the performance from Joshua Dobbs. I think he attempted 17 passes coming into that Thursday night, so he didn't have a lot of regular season action as an NFL quarterback. He still went 20 of 39, 232 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, as we all know. I saw some good things and I saw some bad things, but I think the bad things were to be expected. But here's the main point, is that he definitely facilitated the passing offense, right? He added a downfield element to the offense, which is something that I truly believe Mike Vrabel and that coaching staff were hoping they could see in this game against the Cowboys. And even though the Titans lost by 14, there's several moral victories you can point to in that matchup. So I am not surprised, not shocked, one iota that he's going to be the starting quarterback heading into Week 18, this pivotal matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What does this mean for, I guess, from the organization's point of view, from the outside looking in for Malik Willis in his development?
Yeah, another great question, because here's the thing. I'm not here for the overreactions. If you didn't understand that Malik Willis was a very raw prospect coming into the draft, then you just didn't understand. He's a guy that I still believe may have that franchise quarterback potential, but he's someone who obviously had to sit and learn and understand what it's like to go through NFL practices, passing progressions, working in the pocket, in reps that are taken in practice, not in the regular season. I did not anticipate him making a start at all during his rookie year. So for everybody who's out there for the hot takes on Malik, I would say pump the brakes just a little bit. This is a raw player with a lot of great potential. He's not there just yet, but one day he may be there. So I understand why Tennessee made the decision to go out there and get Dobbs, because he's somebody who's, I don't want to say a veteran, but he's been through several years with several different teams in the NFL now, and he understands what it's like to pick up an offense and play at this level. So I still have hope for Malik. I'm not surprised they made this decision, but don't believe for a second that the Titans are out on this kid just yet.
I know you live right here in Tennessee just like we do, and we all want the Titans to do really well. But regardless of what happens in this last game, do you think going into next season, are you in rebuild mode or are you retool mode?
Yeah, that's $1 million question, and it's a really tough one that you have to have because, or a conversation that you have to have, because you're going to have to make some tough cuts when it comes to setting yourself up for a beneficial cap situation. I think a lot of people understand that left tackle Taylor Lewan will be one of those cuts. Some people are wondering if Ryan Tannehill will be one of those cuts as well. I've not done my homework on that. I'm not 100% sure what the future holds for Tennessee's quarterback. But it's tough because whenever we talk about this question, I go back to what if the Tennessee Titans were 100% healthy this entire season? No one would be talking about a potential rebuild. But every offseason, obviously, that opportunity is going to present itself with the monies at hand. So, I think using the term rebuild is a very strong descriptor, and that's not one that I'm going to use when it comes to describing the Titans situation. But obviously, that there's a lot of changes that are going to be afoot.
There you have it, Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
Jordan, so there's two entities that I never count out no matter what. Number one is the Steelers. Everybody buried them at 2-6, and I thought it's Mike Tomlin. They never have a losing season. Well, here they are. They got a chance to fix that. And the other one is no matter who the Packers don't draft or what they do, they always have Aaron Rodgers. Well, I know you tweeted about his manifestation. Well, they win, and they have manifested themselves into the playoffs.
Unbelievable talking about the Packers. I mean, I think when they started, what was it, like 4-8 or something ridiculous? We gave them a 1% chance to make the postseason at all. Now all they have to do is defeat the Detroit Lions at Lambeau Field in primetime, and they're into the big dance. And the NFC is a little bit murky with the Minnesota Vikings, the Jalen Hurts injury, Brock Purdy, and the 49ers. It's going to be interesting to see if Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady can make a run. So, yeah, I gave it away. I think the Packers are going to beat the Lions in Week 18 and get that number 7 seed in the NFC. Now, when it comes to the AFC, the football gods are real, let me tell you, and they love the Pittsburgh Steelers because I'm looking at these scenarios right now. It looks like the Dolphins have a great setup, right? They have to beat the Jets in Week 18 and have the Patriots lose to the Bills. That's something that can definitely happen. But looking at Miami's quarterback situation, they won't have Tua Tagovailoa, and now Teddy Bridgewater is dealing with a dislocated pinky on his throwing hand. It may be rookie Skylar Thompson under center for Miami in this pivotal regular season finale. Wow. Looking at the Steelers, historically, they've done incredibly well against the Browns at home. They've won 18 straight regular season home games against Cleveland. That's the longest active home winning streak versus any opponent in the NFL. So I think that the Steelers have a huge opportunity here, and I think they have a great shot at making the postseason, which is absolutely wild to say at this point in the year.
What do you think happens with Derek Carr?
Yeah, I think Derek Carr loves the Raiders. He's someone that always wanted to finish his career with the Raiders. That was a franchise that he absolutely loved. But obviously, with Josh McDaniels making the decision to bench him for Jarrett Stidham, he's going to be moving on. And, you're going to see reports out there saying that the Raiders are going to entertain trades for Carr. I have a hard time believing that any trade is going to come to fruition. Looking at that contract, I believe he's going to get released. I believe he's going to get paid, and he's going to finish up his career somewhere else. A couple of teams to keep an eye on would be the New York Jets, who, of course, will be in the market for a new signal caller after we all witnessed Zach Wilson's struggles this year. And also I'll throw out there the Washington Commanders because after the whole Carson Wentz debacle, that's another team that will be looking for a quarterback. And they're in a weird spot, right? They're not exactly in position to seduce the likes of Tom Brady or select one of the top quarterbacks in the upcoming draft. So the Washington Commanders would be an interesting landing spot for Mr. Derek Carr.
Okay, just since we're just speculating here, Tom Brady, you mentioned him. Where do you think he spends his, well, I'll never say it's his last year, but next year?
Yeah, that's another $1 million question. I feel like he's definitely going to mull retirement once again, but I'm coming out with an article tomorrow on what his landing spot may be, and I can go ahead and give it away on air. It's a bold prediction, but I believe that Tom Brady could potentially jump pirate ships, going from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over to the Las Vegas Raiders. Out in Vegas, an NFL team that has a great fan base. He obviously is familiar with head coach Josh McDaniels. Yes, the AFC West is probably the toughest division in the NFL. I mean, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what the Broncos are doing, but they have some talent there. But Tom Brady is not afraid of that. And, I think that a great way to put a bow on the legendary career would be trying to win the Super Bowl or win the division in the toughest division in the NFL. I think Tom Brady is going to have a wondering eye this offseason if he decides to keep playing.
Jordan Dajani, our guest, CBS Sports at Jordan Dajani on Twitter for this article he's discussing and so much more.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, I mean, what do you think about will Tannehill be back as a Titan?
Yeah, at this point, I'm going to say yes. And I feel like a lot of people are leaning in the other direction because of the cap stuff that we were talking about a little earlier in this conversation. But I'm going to say yes at this point. I think the Titans are going to do their homework and explore a lot of different avenues when it comes to what the future is going to look like at that position. But at the same time, if you're going to get rid of your starting quarterback that has at least been fairly consistent for you, you're entering the portal, if you will. It's going to be very unknown with what's going to happen at the most important position in football, and that's not a situation that I, as a general manager, would want to be in. So I think they're going to explore that opportunity. And again, I wouldn't be 100% shocked if Tannehill was playing elsewhere in 2023. But right now, at this point, before I've done all my research for the offseason, I'll go ahead and say I'm leaning towards Tannehill playing for the Titans in 2023.
Well, we're going to stay on that quarterback line, and that is Lamar Jackson.
Oh,
is he healthy or is he going to ever play this season? I mean, regular season, because he's not going to play this week. I mean, is he going to ever be in a Ravens uniform?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think he is, and I think he's getting healthier, and I think the Ravens have made a calculated decision when it comes to his knee injury to not have him suit up because they already have a playoff spot in the AFC, and they're going to be focused on the postseason here coming up. But, man, let me tell you, since you brought it up, I think this offseason is going to be maybe very dramatic for the Baltimore fan base because Lamar Jackson wants a fully guaranteed contract, and that's a very big obstacle to overcome for any NFL franchise. But as for his health, I don't think there's anything crazy happening behind the scenes. I don't think that he's refusing to play or that he has some serious injury that we don't understand just yet. I would assume that he's going to play at least in the postseason this season.
Lastly, we got the replay of the Carolina Panthers-Tampa Bay game here, but are we hearing any rumors on who Carolina Panthers want as a head coach?
Yeah, the rumors are that they've reached out or at least have had some kind of conversations with Jim Harbaugh of Michigan, which absolutely flabbergasts me. Since you guys probably remember this from last year where Harbaugh, spurned the Minnesota Vikings and said he was returning to Michigan with whatever, an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, I think was the direct quote. He actually ensured the athletic director at Michigan that this flirtation with the NFL was a one-time thing. Less than 12 months later, and here we are again with the athletic reporting that he's going to be very interested in the NFL circuit. So he's going to be in play for teams like the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers. I think the Panthers definitely want to shoot for the moon when it comes to their next coaching prospect, but that's going to be a polarizing decision because Steve Wilkes has done such a fantastic job with this franchise, setting them up for almost winning the division before this past Sunday. So the Panthers are going to have a hard choice to make. They're going to interview several different guys, and Wilkes will certainly be one of them.
One more question, that is, give me two teams, one from the AFC, one from the NFC, that get spurned and burned and won't make the playoffs but deservingly should be in.
I would have loved to see the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs with a healthy Tua Tagovailoa. They were one of my favorite teams to watch this year, but they were so streaky. Their defense wasn't consistent despite having talent at several different positions, but that offense, as we all know, can put up points. I'm going to have the Dolphins missing the postseason and the Pittsburgh Steelers making it in their stead. Now, when it comes to the NFC, I would have loved to see the Detroit Lions in there, but they're facing an uphill battle. The Detroit Lions have quickly become America's team almost, with all of us rooting for Dan Campbell after Hard Knocks this offseason. But the Green Bay Packers, all they simply have to do is defeat Detroit, and Aaron Rodgers will be in the big dance. Ultimately, I think that's what happens.
Great stuff there.
Jordan, we're basically out of time, but we always have this week in embarrassment by the Washington Commandskins. How about Ron Rivera not knowing that they could be eliminated in the playoffs by what happened in another game?
I love Ron Rivera. I think he's a good man, but I think what he did in Week 17 was a huge middle finger to the fan base he represents. Just making the decision to start Carson Wentz completely sabotages the entire season. Then he goes into his post-game press conference and gets sarcastic with the reporter, acting like he didn't even know that he sabotaged the Commanders' season. It's kind of like saying, whoops, sorry fans, didn't know the season was on the line. Making the playoffs wasn't very high on my list of priorities. So an absolute disaster in Washington. There's people out there calling for his firing right now, so that'll be an interesting offseason up in D.C.
Always interesting there. Always interesting catching up with you. At Jordan Dajani on Twitter, CBS Sports. Lots of great content, as always, from you and your crew covering the NFL. Thank you for the time today, sir.
Thanks, JD.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. When we come back, who practiced and who didn't practice today? Who did, who didn't? The news is out. That's next. Blaine and Mickey. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Jimmy Wyatt not spotted at Titans practice on Wednesday. This is hot off the Twitter presses. Cornerback, he said. Devontae Harris, an outside linebacker, Terrell Basham, a fairly recent addition, who was cut loose from the Cowboys. So that means that Dylan Cole did practice, and Christian Fulton, and Amani Hooker, and NPF, and Big Jeff, and Autry, and Henry, among others.
Oh, okay.
That means they did. If they were limited or they were full, but that does mean they were out there.
Oh, good. We got it. We didn't have to wait for 3HL.
I mean, they'll release this guy has a foot and he was limited or whatever, but that's the who did and the who didn't right there, straight from the source, Jimmy Wyatt.
Well, that's all good signs there, man, because the defense having Fulton. You said Hooker too, right? As well as
he's not on the didn't practice, so that means Hooker and Fulton both practice.
I like this.
Okay,
I think we got the secondary really with Autry and Big Jeff. Assuming that they're gonna be ready to rock and roll, secondary got to match up with the D line. I think that's the only way we got a shot of winning this game. They got to step up. I think it's gonna be one of those close games, and whoever makes the most amount of mistakes is gonna lose. Yeah, and it's gonna be because of that defense, because the defense hasn't played up to par really here the last and during this loss. I mean, this losing streak here. So and as I said all season, you can't depend on the defense to carry the weight the whole entire season. That's why it's called team.
Yep.
Yeah, there's gonna be some games you have to carry the weight. But there's going to be some games the offense has to carry the weight, and carrying weight and averaging 14 points a game is not carrying no weight. That you must got a hold what you talk about carry. So yeah, they got to step up. So they got to put up some points this week. So we'll see with the offense and Dobbs and a little more another week of practicing, and we'll see where they go. All right, no mistakes by him, by the way, either, and the King.
Yeah,
fumbling.
I'll give you some scoring numbers, but I know Lucas has got some Predators tickets that he needs to give away. Let's do that, Lucas. Smashville calling all University of Kentucky fans, students, and alumni. It's University of Kentucky night at the Preds game that's coming up January 17th. You can be caller 5 now. Your chance to win tickets to see the Preds host the Blue Jackets January 17th at Bridgestone Arena. Caller 5-615-737-1045. Rep the Wildcats at the Preds game on January 17th. You buy a special college night ticket, you get a co-branded hat with that special ticket purchase. Experience Smashville this month. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets and do not miss out. Again, caller 5. You don't even have to buy them. You can just get them for free from Lucas's personal vault. So I got curious this morning because I thought, okay, the Titans are not scoring since they went to Green Bay. And the Jags are on this hot streak. And it seems like every week you look at their score and you think, man, the Jags scored a lot of points. In the last 6 games for the Jags are averaging 28 points per game in their last 6 games. Mm-hmm. In the Titans' last 6 games, they are averaging 14.8. The Jags have scored almost twice as many points as the Titans in the last 6 weeks.
That's why I think it's vital that the Titans got all hands on deck with their defense. And especially in the secondary, so to kind of at the end of the day, you're the last man standing on the defense, whether you're safety or cornerback. So yeah, so they're gonna have to play their best and have their best players out there to at least keep them under that. And I think to 21, and the Titans are gonna have to score 21. There's no 14 points gonna win no game. This is not. There's no way. There's no way they're gonna beat the Jags just scoring 14 points. So. They're going to have to play better on offense, and the defense is going to have to step up and play better than they play with better players out there, and I'm assuming that will happen.
When the Bucs played the Chiefs in a Super Bowl, and obviously a couple years ago, Brady's first year with the Bucs, we talked about the game all week leading up to the game, and you were very confident Bucs are going to beat them. Oh, man, the Chiefs are on top of the world, Blaine. Are you crazy? It's a Bucs. You said the Bucs can pressure with 4 and cover with 7. They always get pressure with 4. Well, the secret sauce for the Titans is 2 dudes, and those 2 dudes haven't played together in a while now. It's Autry and Simmons. That's the most secret of sauces. Well, guess what? I mean, knock on some wood over here. They may have a batch of the secret sauce to take down to Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm just hoping it's enough. I'm not sure because I'm not sure what the secondary. And when I say that, I'm talking about Fulton and Hooker. You can get pressure, but you still got to have guys on the back end if they're getting rid of the ball quick. Quick passing game, which is what they did a little bit last time, and so I'm interested to see if they kind of change it up a little bit, mix it up. I'm not sure that's going to be the only resolution. As I said, both sides of the ball are going to have to play up to par. And I think the offense is going to have to score more than 40 points. So it's not just the defense. The defense could hold them to 21 points and say, hey, man, we did a great job. And then the offense only put up, 10 points. Yeah. The offense is going to have to put up more than 14. 14 is not going to cut it. It's just not. I don't care what the defense does. The 14 is not going to do it, so they got to put up some points. So as much as we're all excited about what Dobbs did, and he did a solid job being that he was first career start and being a career backup, he can't turn the ball over, and they got to put the ball in the end zone. Ultimately, you're judged on wins. Yep. And he didn't get a win, but he was better than Malik, obviously. So let's see if he can now get a dub. Got to go a long way for him, not just for the Titans, but for him personally, whether he's a backup in this league on the Titans or somewhere else. I think then it'll be solidified. And backups these days are making millions of dollars.
We can get into this some tomorrow because we got about a minute left. Evan Ingram
destroyed him.
And Trevor Lawrence both had the best day of their career against the Titans the last time they had. Both of them did.
Did he catch 11, 12 passes?
Evan
100 and something. I remember that.
Evan Ingram, 11 for 162 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. So, Byard, Hooker, and the linebackers are going to have to come ready to play. And don't forget Christian Kirk, because they're going to go to somebody else this time. They may use him as a decoy. He may not get, that many targets like he did in that game, but he's still going to be effective. But they got to make sure they get Christian Kirk because he kind of took some of the targets away from Christian Kirk, and I think he's going to have a big day too as well. So they're going to have to keep both of them at bay and in check.
And Zay Jones even had 12 targets against the Titans last time.
Well,
Didn't amount to a whole lot, but he had 12 targets. He was 8 for 77 with a touchdown on 12 targets.
Yeah, he did. He should have had more than that. I mean, he was looking like he had 2 Mickey Mouse hands sometimes out there. I'm like, man, dang, man, they need to move him to defense, man. He looked like me catching the ball. So, he should have caught more than that. I mean, he could have been dominant. His day could have been just like Ingram. So we got to get the secondary right, man. Got to get in. Got to match and work hand in hand with the pass rush. They work hand in hand. Tight coverage, sometimes get a sack. Sometimes you don't have tight coverage and they get a sack because they did a great job rushing. So let's see. Autry, Simmons, Tart, and crew get after them.
They got to get after it. 3HL's got to get after it next. It is time for us to get out of here. Happy Wednesday to all of you. We'll be back tomorrow 1 to 3. And again, 3HL, they got you covered all the way up until 6 o'clock today. So don't go anywhere. Just stay here. Enjoy your sunny day listening to The Zone.
Yeah, no doubt. In the meantime.
In between time.
Peace. The mayor's up next.